Hello and welcome to the Overly Animated Podcast, where we take animation seriously. I'm Beatriz Mourad, and today I'm joined by Michelle Anderer.
Hello.
And April Collins.
Hi there.
Today we will be discussing the 16th episode of Fruits Basket, She Said Don't Step on Them. Warning, spoilers for everything that has aired up to this point. Some of us have read the manga, some of us have seen the early 2000s version of the anime, but we won't be spoiling anything beyond episode 16. Find out more about this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can subscribe to us on iTunes at overlyanimated.com/iTunes. You can find us on Spotify. Check that out on our website, or on YouTube at youtube.com/overlyanimated. All right. This was a hard one, y'all. This was a hard, like, in different ways. In different ways, it was tough. But give me your general thoughts, April.
So, the moral of the story is don't ever meet your heroes. But, because you're always, well, like, it, you know, like, you're just always going to be disappointed. So, and I feel for Uo-chan so much. Okay, so I have lots of feelings about this episode, because one, I thought it was very sweet that she wanted to buy a swimsuit for Toru. Like, and I love that she was just, like, so distraught about it, because she knows the exact reason why Toru hasn't bought her own swimsuit, and, like, she's just upset about it. So I think that's very, like, genuine and, like, very endearing. And I wish my friends would buy me swimsuits, because I hate buying swimsuits, but that's besides the point. But it was, like, it was very, like, sweet, and I really enjoyed getting to know, like, how Toru and Uo-chan, like, came together, I guess, and how, like, they met, like, I felt really bad because she was really mean to Toru, and I was like, okay, but, like, she was in a different place at that time, so, like, I guess I can kind of forgive her, but then that would also, like, make sense. Probably she feels, like, a bit of guilt for, like, how she initially treated Toru, and which is why, like, I mean, even more reason for her to, like, be nice and sweet to her outside of already just, like, loving her a lot. But I was not ready for this episode because it was like, this was not, like, lighthearted, like, super crazy fun. I mean, it was, like, in the beginning, but then, like, we got into some stuff. And there we were. So.
Yeah. And there we were.
There we were.
But Michelle, what about you?
I was not expecting this episode to be kind of, I don't know, it hit me really personally, and I don't know why, because, like, I've not been in a female gang, but,
what?
I mean,
I would have never guessed it.
I know.
You, like, scream female gang to me.
Oh, well, thank you. That means a lot. I will say this show has made female gangs seem like the coolest thing ever.
Right?
And I legit, like, I know gangs are, like, not a fun place for troubled teens, but, like, I never knew how much I, like, thirsted after and longed for a cool female gang until this episode came along. Now I just want to see female gangs everywhere in all kinds of media. Because, like, that was kind of awesome. It's, like, sad, but, like, awesome too, honestly. It was really interesting because, like, when the episode starts, like, it's such a cold open, and like, I was racking my brain because I couldn't place this character. I was like, is this the Zodiac? But they're not in the new intro, so who are they? This blonde person. I, like, couldn't figure out who they were. And then, like, realizing, like, oh, this is Uo-chan from her past. It was super, it's just, there's so much history there. And I don't know, this is, like, I feel like all these backstories we're getting from these characters are really sad, but, like, there's something really particularly interesting about Uo-chan's situation that I think, like, felt a little more personal to me. And it made me way more deeply uncomfortable, but I also, like, before, like, in the episode it became obvious that, you know, why she doesn't like Kyoko's kind of domestic situation and why she's so kind of repulsed by her relationship to Toru and their happy family situation. I was just like, man, this is so interesting, but, like, also I feel bro, so, like, obviously this episode is such a cliffhanger, it has to be a two-parter story. I guess it's the first two-parter they've ever done. But I'm so here for it, because if it's a choice between this and, like, the boys doing feeling time with Toru, I honestly would rather have this. It's way more interesting. Yeah, and, like, honestly, I was afraid that as the show went on, we would get so much more into Kyo and Yuki and drift farther and farther away from Toru's initial friends. So, like, to get Uo-chan's whole backstory is such a nice surprise that I honestly wasn't sure was a thing that would happen. Yeah, because like the boys are becoming increasingly more like a part of her life and like are taking more focus. So I just assumed like naturally she would drift away from those friends. But like I'm so glad we're getting this because it's like inherently more interesting to me. Like because it's bigger stakes, right? Like not knowing how you feel about someone, yeah, it's relatable. But like being in a gang and looking up to your heroes and then having to confront like. You know, why does she gravitate towards the gang? What does she need from that for her own sense of happiness and identity? And how is that put in direct confrontation by seeing how happy Kyoko is by leaving that all behind her? Like, that's some good, interesting stuff there. Yeah. So, I honestly, like, I feel like this is one of the more serious episodes, and I loved it so much. Like, this might be my favorite episode right now. Yeah. And, like, we don't know who Chan that much before this, but because we learn everything we do, and because the episode is so mindful about its framing of everything, I think that does like a lot for us. So I'm just like super high on it. I'm like sad for it, but like I know she's gonna get through it obviously because it's a crime story. But like yeah, just a lot of feelings with this one.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. Like you're right. You're absolutely right that Uo-chan was like. We didn't know anything. She was of the main cast. She was the one we knew the least of. Mm-hmm. And in a way, at first, I was very surprised because I thought if we were going to first get a backstory, I thought for sure it was going to be like of one of them. I thought it was going to be Saki of one of the two. I was like because we just saw more of her. Yeah. And then beyond that, I thought, you know, we've spent so much time with the Somas that I was like, okay, well. Now that we had like the previous episode that so little happened, I mean, of course we're gonna get to know someone else, or we're gonna go deeper into some Soma. I don't know. It just the show puts so much emphasis on the Somas. Yeah. But that was so brilliant of choosing her. Is that we're getting her backstory, but we're also getting Toru's backstory too within it. Like we are getting to know Toru's side of like we're finally getting something due since the first episode and then the episode with the grandfather coming back and trying to take Toru away.
So like episode 4 or 5, it's forever now.
And it's like 16, so it's episode 4, 5. We haven't really heard that much about Toru anymore. It's just been the Soma show. And it's because of Arisa that we were able to get more into who was Toru as a person. Because I can understand how it could get a little boring if it's like, oh, like it's just Toru's still this incredibly sweet, super genuine girl who loves her parents. Like that's it. Like we don't need to know more in that sense. But then we have a vehicle to get to know her mom who's been teased throughout the entire show and get to see a side of the world that her mom had through.
Oh my god.
And it's just chef's kiss. It's a beautiful way to introduce this to show this backstory without it just, you know, in a way that maybe Toru isn't familiar with. But we still get to know it because we get someone from that world and we get her to be Toru's friend. And it's just, I don't know, it was just a very expertly way of telling the story and getting to know her. And it's shocking how much story we got because this entire story could have been its own anime.
Yeah.
I would watch it.
Totally. It could have been its own 13-episode series, and it would have been 100% brilliant and super charming, and I probably would have been like, they're the best friends, and Saki would have shown up, like, I don't know, in like episode 10 or something. It's like, oh, who's this? I don't know. It would have been great, and I want it still, even though this is awesome. But yeah, so before we get into that, big chunk, the big, huge thing, I did want to talk about something because
the bathing suit. What are you?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So because here's the thing, when Arisa first cried at the sight of it, I was like really worried because this is how trained I am. Because this is how you know that I grew up watching anime and how trained and how like I was so certain that she was just going to be that really creepy, male gazy kind of like, she's so cute in that middle schooler swimsuit. And I was so happy because that's what you always see, right? Is they see, usually it's a dude crying being like, they're so cute. And it's like, all right, but that's still, all right, sure. It's made for middle schoolers. Why do you think that swimsuit is cute? But we'll get to that. But she didn't do it. She didn't cry because of that. She cried because she was so sad. And I also really like that Toru's like aware of her sadness and is like, you know, like,
you
I don't know.
so easily. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's like aware that she feels bad for her. And I feel like anyone else maybe could have had like an ego problem, been like, don't feel bad for me, you know, or something. But Toru's just like, she loves me so much. Like, how sweet. I should get myself a swimsuit. So she stops crying. And then that's when the plan happens and everything's fine. I was like, okay, they didn't do the creepy route. Everything's okay. And then
after a certain boy.
And then the dog. He's not even a boy. He's just a disgrace, to be honest.
Oh my god, can that be the headline of the year? He's not even a boy. He's just a disgrace.
Seriously, though. I'm just like, we were so good. And they didn't do the thing I feared, only to do it later with the one character that shouldn't surprise me. That they react.
Yeah.
I just
ignored it.
I was like, I had a moment of like, oh god, not again, and then like I just like tried to get past it, but like Shigure, how do you not understand that she's like what, like 15 and you're a 26-year-old man? Like how do you not understand that? Like honestly, I'm 26. I wouldn't want to hit on a 15-year-old boy. Like no, he's a little
girl.
baby. Or girl, yeah.
And it's like, and what's even creepier is like the swimsuit is made for middle schoolers, so people that are even younger, you know?
I don't think he was a fan of the, like, I do think when he's like, please, you gotta get a real swimsuit, he did honestly say that out of pity, like, he also felt bad for her. But, like, the thing before was still not good.
See, but, and here's the thing, it's also, but he said he doesn't want to think of Toru that way, and it's like, what? You don't want, like, Toru's, like, the exception, but any other underage girl is fine with you? Like, what do you mean when you say that? But beyond that, I need to ask you guys a question, moving forward, because this is my belief. Either we just ignore this, right? We just ignore his antics. But if we're going to ignore these antics, we're just going to ignore his character completely. Like, he's just not going to exist on the show. Because here's the thing, I can't just...
What's the other option?
The other option is we don't ignore it.
Well, that's what we've been doing. We can just
I know.
That. Yeah.
But I'm just like, I don't know. I'm just getting... It's tired to say the same thing over again, but, like, just personally, I can't ignore the bad, but then talk about the good. It's either I ignore both and I just ignore him as a character completely, and I just don't talk about him, or I have to talk about both, because I can't ignore something so problematic and so obvious in the show. You know what I mean? And it's like, every time I see someone defend him, I lose a year of my life.
I know, like, I will say, I don't understand, like, the argument of, like, so many people love Shigure, so you should too, despite the reasons you don't. I mean, that doesn't make sense to me.
And what doesn't make sense to me is also they're like, oh, well, then he used to date this woman that was his age, and now that's a problem. It's like, look, he's a creep. I don't want any woman to date him after he proved himself to be a creep, to be perfectly honest.
Shigure needs to change his outlook on life before I think he's ready to date anyone. Much like the boys we do like. I mean, they're not really ready either, but for different, better reasons.
Yeah.
I think it's fine to keep talking about it. I wouldn't want to ignore it because, like, it's not like we can really ignore it in the episode. It's always, like, kind of an unpleasant, almost surprise. I mean, we expect it, but then when it's, like, reaffirmed, it's kind of like, oh, man, every time. I think that's important. I wouldn't want to just brush it aside, because that's, like, to me, that feels like the same thing as saying, like, oh, I don't think it's a big deal anymore. But, like, as long as it makes us uncomfortable, I feel like it's worth pointing out, even if it feels redundant. We wouldn't have to make it redundant if the show didn't do it so many times already.
Yeah. True. That's true. I don't know. It's just... Yeah.
Like, you can't, I was gonna say, like, you can't also blame us for, like, pointing out the behavior whenever it happens. You know what I mean? Like, because it's just not okay. And so, like, really, like, I'm like, I don't like this. And I'm like, okay, like, I will move on now, kind of thing. So, here I am, I guess, proclaiming, like, Shigure acted inappropriately again this episode. Go figure. Like,
yeah, exactly.
All right. Okay, that makes me feel a little better. Because I really was like, all right, let's just ignore him completely. You know, let's just not even talk about the good of him, because it's either we don't talk about anything of him or we have to talk about it. It's like there's no in between.
Well, and it's gonna get complicated later, like if he becomes like more involved in like the plot and everything like that.
I don't know. I kind of wanted to do like
I'm sure he will.
I was so prepared to be like, say we got like a Shigure specific episode or something, like say this, but for Shigure, I was gonna be like, let's talk about that butterfly in the background. It was so interesting.
Butterflies are really rare in Japan, okay?
Yeah, I don't know if that's true, but sure.
Is that just a thing you just said, April?
No, I think it's true.
Why?
I don't know.
They just have lots of cicadas and no butterflies?
Yes.
That's harsh.
That's why they're like, oh my gosh, butterflies. That's why they get super hyped for butterflies. Like.
All right.
All
right. Well,
I can Google it.
All right. So while you're Googling, let's talk about because Arisa comes up with this brilliant plan where she's like, let's all chip in and buy Toru a new bathing suit. And
crowdsource bathing suit fund.
And she is so thoughtful, so generous. She's like, Kyo, Yuki, you should come along. And she gave us this beautiful scene between them where she's aware of what's happening. She's like, why are you embarrassed if your thoughts are pure?
Yes! Yes. Pure. It's like the best line. It's so funny.
Call him out.
And these poor boys. They were just so unprepared. And what I love is that they animated like all the women in the background to also be like very amused by their embarrassment. Mm-hmm. I was just like, this is so great. First, what did you guys think of just this entire sequence, of just this entire scene at the mall? Like, how much fun did you have? Michelle? Or April?
I mean, I enjoyed it. I think it was fun. But, like, it's just great because, like, they fully captured, like, that going to the mall experience. And even them, like, and then I appreciated that they had, like, that girl moment where they're like, oh my gosh, this isn't going to be as easy as I thought. And I was like, that's right. And then for Kyo and Yuki to just be fighting in the middle of the mall is even better, about a color nonetheless. Though I was really surprised that Yuki was blue. I would have figured he would have been like purple or something like that.
Yeah. We do want to we should talk about his choice of color, because that was also surprising. But Michelle, what did you think of the entire scene before I give my analysis of Yuki's choice?
Oh, you have an analysis. I mean, I loved it too. I love that. Because, like, when they ask them, like, oh, like, which do you prefer? And they're like, you can't ask us that. It's like, the reason you bring a boy to help with the women's swimsuit is to get the guy perspective if you want to, you know, attract guys with your swimsuit later. So it's not a weird question to ask. But I love them fighting, and I love that they get, like, so indignant, like, you think that, like, Toru would look so good in such a bright color? You don't know her at all. Obviously, she looked better in blue. Like, oh, no, blue sucks. Like, it's not that exciting. She needs an exciting color. Like, for the record, I think blue would suit Toru a lot more than orange, just because orange is rarely flattering on most people.
Yeah, you have to have, like, the right skin tone for it. And she just seems too pale.
Yeah, maybe like a cream orange, but certainly not like a vibrant orange. It's just asking for trouble. But yeah, I really appreciated their riffs on each other.
Yeah.
All right. Well, then clearly we are so obviously Team Yuki because of that choice. That's what it was. Arisa called it out. She was like, wow, this is so obvious. How do they not realize this? Because Kyo is orange, you know, the hair, he's orange, right? Mm-hmm. Yuki is blue, and here's what I think. I would agree that gray or purple would make more sense for Yuki, but like, Yuki's always so sad. He's so he's always so sad, and you think, like, every time you see him, you like hear like an orchestral melody that's just so sad and breaks your heart. So of course, blue, you know, blue is the color of sadness. So Yuki, it makes sense. It makes sense that he's blue, even though I think purple would also look very good on Toru. So Michelle, you land on blue. April, where do you land?
Between orange, I mean, come on.
Okay, we do get another option because Saki's like, no, we get pink.
It's probably superior, I will say.
Yeah, I agree with their choice in pink. Like, that's the best. Like, and like, this is gonna sound, I don't know, like, the best way to, like, describe this, and maybe you guys can help me, but, like, pink seems like the perfect color to describe Toru and her personality.
Yes!
Yeah, okay, like...
About the parents! And, like, what they say is, like, so her mom, Kyoko, is crimson because of her vibrant, daring, like, flair of a personality, and the dad is white because he's more straight-laced and, like, chill, and so she is a blend of both of those, so she's pink, which means she's, like, 50% chill and 50% wild card, which I think is like a great combination, frankly.
Well, so are you saying that we're going to see something wild? Are we going to see her wild
really
side
crazy
soon?
Moments, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like she has very hype moments. So
yeah.
True. Very true. I for a second I was very excited because before Saki or Arisa, whichever one, explained the theory behind pink, I was like, oh, does orange and blue mix into pink? And no, they mix into brown.
Yeah, it's probably like brown or something.
I thought it was foreshadowing. I was like, oh, because she's not going to pick either one. She's going to pick both. And it's like a mix. I don't know. But you get brown. So she's got to pick one. She can't pick both. Unfortunately.
Good.
We're not going to get that. But,
I can see Toru, like, trying to appease them and be like, oh, I'll just wear, like, a striped one that's orange and blue, which would look hideous, and I'm glad that's not happening. So, it's good she didn't go shopping for her own bathing suit.
Right?
Very good. I will say, I have an orange and blue bathing suit. It's like a navy, and it actually is very cheap.
Oh, that sounds okay. Navy's alright. Because navy's basically black, and black goes with everything, so...
That is true.
Yeah.
That is very... Alright, so then we have a change, because the first half of the episode is actually kind of lighthearted. You know, it's pretty nice. You know, the episodes are normally divided into 2 acts, the first and then the second. And each one kind of finishes off or bleeds into the next one, but they're usually done by the end of the episode. Then we get this huge shift in tone in the next, basically they go out to lunch and then they were like, oh wow, like Yuki and Kyo go, wow, you guys are really close. Like, when did you meet or whatever? When did you guys become friends? And we get the big backstory, the thing that we basically got in the cold opening in the beginning of the episode. What stood out to you the most of this second half? Like, let's start with, did you think the tone shift was jarring? Because there is a shift. Like, it went from the opening that was very serious and like dark, and then it went to
that opening. It's not that opening, but like, sorry, the anime opening. I remember how I said, like, this is very peppy. And is this going to interfere with the story moving forward?
I didn't think that was bad, because like for me,
it was very distracting for me, because like
really?
You just, like, it's so serious, and this person's like slumped over by their door, and there's sketchy house with the dad drinking, and it's like da 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 da, like, and I just like could not handle that. It was a lot.
Okay, one, I need you by the end of our coverage of the show to sing that theme song in full.
Yes,
I need a rendition from you. Like, all instrumentals and all, like full acapella, but then you voice the instrumentals. but also, but yeah, okay, so you did find it jarring. It was like, but not just the opening. I mean, like, also the two halves of the episode.
Well, I don't think it was jarring in that I paid attention to it and it bothered me, but I think part of it's just because when Ochan's describing herself in her youth, she says it so casually. She's like, yeah, I was like a hungry lion back then, haha. And then you like see her pass, it's like, oh my god, this is some weighty stuff, girl. You undersold it a lot. So I think, I don't know, I didn't mind it. I was just like super engrossed in it the whole time, but I didn't really ever have a moment where I stepped back to think like, does this mix well with the swimsuit stuff? I feel like there was enough progression because they like changed locations into a restaurant, which is a pretty neutral setting to get into a different tone of backstory, I guess. But yeah, I didn't mind it too much.
Gotcha. April, what about you? Did you think it was a lot? Did you think the shift was strong or like jarring? Like, did it take you out or was it fine for you?
No, like I just like Michelle, like I was just super engrossed in it. And I agree, like, and I was actually going to bring up about like how like we shift locations because like we're in like the mall or wherever we are, the shopping area, and like everything is still very bright, and then like even when we go into like the restaurant, like you can already notice that there's a change in kind of like the tone, and like even like the coloring is a little bit more muted and neutral, and then we get into like the whole backstory thing, and then everything's just like really, really dark. So I would say that it was actually like they did a really good job at sort of gradually putting you into it versus just like throwing you into it, because I think that would have been jarring. But the fact that like we sort of like switch locations, we already like from just like the happy, fun, joking like situation that we're in, and then moving into the more serious thing, like I think they handled that very well. And I mean, that's just me, and I guess Michelle agrees with me, but...
I do, that's a really good analysis.
Yeah, but, like, I didn't find it jarring. Like, if they had gone straight from the mall to, like, immediately just, like them just, like, walking after they just, like...
Tell us your past!
Yeah, like, so tell us how you met, and they're, like, walking around with a shopping bag, I would have been like,
Right.
And they like, what is it, I guess whenever, they even, like, kind of, like take a break from it, too, which I think was kind of, like, nice, almost, because, like, she's, like, telling this story, and then at some point, I guess maybe, like, where, like, there might have been, like, a commercial or something like that, like, we kind of, like, shift back into the restaurant. So it's kind of like you're getting that breather, and then, like, you go back into it again. So I thought that was also, like, really well done as well. Because sometimes, even if you, like, take, like, sometimes when shows will try and take that kind of breather, it doesn't transition well. And then that's where, like, it becomes really jarring for me.
Yeah. No, yeah, I agree. I was so surprised by the smoothness. Because, I mean, I don't know, I was just so surprised by the smoothness of how this story was told, and I was so engrossed in it that by the time the end credits started to play, I was like, wait, what? No, you need to resolve this. Why is this over?
We're not done yet.
We're not done yet. And again, we've been trained by this show to expect resolutions by the end of the episode. Maybe not all the answers, but, you know, an end to the day, and we did not get that, and I was very upset. But did you guys notice, like, a jump in animation quality in this half of the episode?
I don't think it's the animation quality in terms of like their budget, but I do think, and again, this is one of the things where like, so we're in like totally new territory for me in April at this point. This is not something they ever touched in the initial anime back in 2001. So this is like the first time we're getting any of this story. I think the thing they did that was so good is just like the way they framed the shots, the way they edited it, the way they like, especially like for whatever reason, like the way they really handled the gangster girl stuff was so interesting and so compelling. And like, I'm not even quite sure why. Like, I've watched the episode twice, but there's something about like that juxtaposed to her particular situation, juxtaposed to Toru and her mom and where her mom is in life right now, that just work so well together. And I think that's what makes that stuff feel so serious and so emotional and so interesting. So I'm just like, I'm really proud of them for knowing how to compose shots more than anything, because I think like that's what really helped me feel like this was such a special episode and that the stakes were really high.
Yeah. And I think the other thing that they did really well too was just that, like, I mean, it's kind of fun to like joke about like, oh, like being in a girl gang and everything, but like it's a very serious situation. And even in like the most, I guess like violent of scenes that we saw during this episode, you could still feel that violence without them having to directly display it. And I think that's something like I think that's like incredible whenever like, especially like an anime or any animated programming can still give off such violence without actually showing it. It's just like, like it's gonna sound terrible to say, but it's a beautiful thing. Like,
it's very effective.
Yeah, it's very effective. And again, like it helps drive like the seriousness of the situation that she's in. And again, like whenever you compare it to like Toru and her mom, like that whole thing, like it even like drives it home more, because like I would say that like my second time watching it, I was a little bit more affected than my first time, just because like I was so engrossed the first time that I was like, what is going on? And then like the second time I was just like, oh my gosh, like I was like noticing everything like as if I had seen it for the first time. It was crazy.
Did you guys feel, because I felt this, I felt that when Arisa like grabbed Toru's collar, I thought that was the most violent thing of the episode. And it was because here's Toru in this kind of very kind of sheltered, like she's the pinnacle of optimism and safety, and suddenly you had someone in a way kind of infecting that and like putting their hands on her. I was like, oh my goodness. Like, I don't know. I just, even though we saw Arisa punching people, we saw her do all this type of stuff for her getting hit, it was her grabbing her collar and then Toru's reaction to that. And that to me was like the most violent act of all of them. And it's not like, I didn't think that Toru was in danger, because you can see that her mom, eventually you notice that her mom was looking on, like, and making sure that nothing got out of hand. But I don't know, at least for me, when I saw that happen, I was like, wow, like, if you like grab a collar, like, if you grab
that's
Toru's
serious business.
Yeah, it's kind of like if Toru knows how, it's kind of like with Toru and Akito. If she could tell that he's bad business, then you know he's bad. So it's kind of like similar kind of thing. But I don't know, maybe it's just because I'm very protective of Toru. But
well, and I think it's the framing of it all, like and not just within this episode, but like the framing of it overall in terms of like the relationship between Arisa and Toru, because like we've only ever seen her be nothing but like sweet and caring and loving towards Toru, and so I 100% totally understand why like that seems like the most violent thing, and it's because like this is someone that you know loves and cares for Toru so much, and for her to be like to act so like, even if she didn't like directly do anything, I mean she did, but like she didn't like actually physically harm her, like for her to take such a violent like action is like very startling almost. So
yeah, it feels very out of character, but I will say I kind of loved it a lot.
Yeah, I'm saying like it's good. Yeah,
I don't want Toru to get beat up, but like I feel like this was so important because like again, we've seen Toru give advice and bestow wisdom to so many people in the span of one episode and have them accept it and actively start to apply it to their lives in a positive way and improve the relationship with her. I think we really needed someone to kind of push back against that a little and to not let her in initially. And I think like for it to be Ochan, it makes so much sense because Toru's whole situation is so much more personally threatening to her and where she is in her life right now. It makes sense that, like, not only would she want to push her away, but she'd, like, want to violently push that away. Because she has so little going on that's great in her life right now. And Toru and her mom represent, like, this whole other side that she believes, like, is... I mean, her perspective of Kyoko, I hope we really get into it, because, like, there's so much there, and, like, I don't know, it also just makes me think about, because, like, we were introduced to the dad back on the New Year's episode, because Toru calls her, and we see the dad's, like, watching the New Year's countdown, and Uo-chan gets mad at him. She's like, hey, like, you drank my beer, don't do that. He's like, sorry. She's like, whatever. And it's, like, playful and chill. But this version of her dad is so different. Like, things obviously changed for the better, but this is, like, pretty dire when she's in middle school. Yeah. So it's just, like, a lot. It's a lot to think about. And I like that it's kind of the differences and how things have changed has been seeded for a while in the show. It helps you appreciate this more. But, like, yeah, I feel like it would have been kind of crazy for Uo-chan to not kind of, because, yeah, she's a gangster. Like, she beats people up on the street every night. Why, like, she's kind of holding back, honestly, on Toru in this moment. But I think it makes sense that she is kind of aggressive with her, because that's kind of how she is with everyone.
Yeah. And, I mean, I will say very quickly that, one, I love how the show was able to create stakes, because, you know, when you get, like, a prologue or something that's, like, happened in the past, it's hard to have stakes, you know, because you know everything turns out okay in the end. And it did really well. But, Michelle, kind of what you said, I just love how she isn't just rejecting Toru's advice, because Toru isn't really giving advice, but she isn't just rejecting Toru.
Friendship, if anything. But
yeah, she's rejecting her friendship, but it's not just that. She's rejecting normalcy. She's rejecting a normal, healthy environment. And I think she's just so betrayed by Toru's mom, because I think what she thought was, there is no way I'm ever going to be able to have that. Have, like, a parent that loves me, have a life that I'm happy with. Like, my life is so bad right now. And I had this idol, this woman who became the leader of a gang. She shattered the glass ceiling for gangs. And
she was the first female gangster leader or something.
Yeah. Like, that wasn't a gang that wasn't just an all-girl gang, just a general gang. She was the leader. This is someone she looked up to so much. She finds her. She's thinking, this is my future. My future is going to be being a badass, like, being so incredible. And then she meets her, and it's like this normal parent who loves her daughter and is just living this life that I feel like she thought she thinks that is never for her, that she isn't allowed to have, that she is too messed up to have. And there's just so much just emotionally happening, because I feel like she feels she's so damaged and that she's not worth stuff, because her mom left. Her dad's a drunk that doesn't care. And we see that, like, she made him lunch, she made him food, and he didn't even touch it, so she does care. And then she sees her idol living, like, the opposite of what she thought her life was gonna be. And I think it's, like, that hope of, like, oh, I can get out of the situation, I think was too much for her. I think it was too...
Absolutely.
It was too heartbreaking. She thought, I can't hope because my situation's too bad. And it's like, if I can hope, then maybe I can get out of this, but I can't do that just mentally. And again, she's like, what, 5th grade? She's in middle school. She's 13. This 12, 13 years old. She's barely she's still a child and barely a teen. And just seeing that, there's so much that happens. But, like, tell me, like, Michelle, you keep saying, like, tell me, what did you want to talk about with this?
I agree with all that. I think it's absolutely right. But I think the other layer to that is, like, this is not something that Uo-chan is able to see at face value. Oh, she doesn't, like, think the life she's made for herself is horrible. I don't think she necessarily, like, to herself believes that, you know, she can't have a happy life. I think the issue is, like, her circumstance sucks, and so she's like, all right, well, I'm going to do something better for myself. What does someone like me have going for them? Well, I can find a new family, right? I can find a gang, and we're all around the same age, and we all hate our parents. We all, like, talk about how, like, we're going to kill them, or it's their fault we're born. Like, we have all this pent-up anger, and we don't know what to do with it. We can inflict it on other people, and that will help us feel like we have a place that we can be above them, maybe above the law. So, like, I think the thing right now with her is that she sees this idol who is, like, the penultimate, like, okay, if I want to be this badass and have this cool life and tell other people what to do and to feel in control this way, she's, like, where I need to get. And to then realize that Kyoto, like, gave all that up for what she's essentially running away from, I think that's devastating because, like, to her, it's like, she says, like, to her face, like, I can't believe you sunk in this low. In her mind right now, like, a domestic life is the worst thing you could do. It is giving up on what your life could be, the name you can make for yourself, the way other peers can view you. And I think that's the thing that devastates her the most, because she's like, you could have been anyone. You had everything I want, and you gave it up to just be like everyone else, and you're happy? Like, I think she's, like, disgusted that she could be happy that way, and that she would rather have that life than everything she had before. And I think, like, that's the tough thing. Like, I don't think she's at a place yet where she's like, well, maybe being a gang actually sucks, and I'm not happy terrorizing people, and this family I forged of angry, also teenagers is, like, not the best it could be. Like, she's not there yet. So right now I think she's just, like, her values that she's been working towards are being put into sharp question, and she does not want to have to question it, so she can't associate with Toru or her mom, because that is, like, too much stress on this, like, life plan she's been building towards at this point, which is just very, very interesting. Yeah. I love it.
No, yeah. Yeah, and not just that, but there's also a way to read this also in terms of gender, because here's, like, you have this her idol gave up a life of being the head and stuff, and she gave it for, like you said, domesticity. She gave it. Now she's just she's a mom. Yeah, she's a working mom, but, like, to her, in Uo-chan's eyes, that's not enough. She's like, You gave in to the societal demands for a woman. You got married, you had a child, and now you're happy in this house that looks perfect and this and that. It's like, no, like, why would you give up being, like, challenging the norm and challenging what women are allowed to be, whereas before you used to punch people and just completely challenge what society expected of women. And it's like, I agree with you completely. It's like, yeah, she's disgusted by what became of the Crimson Butterfly. And then, but I think it's not just that her own, like, oh, like, I create this new family and this stuff. It's also like, I'm fighting against what society expects me to be as a woman. And you gave in to society's demands for us. And how dare you?
Absolutely. Nobody's saying that out loud in the show, but, like, it's absolutely a huge part of it. And I feel like whatever the resolution to this two-part thing ends up being, like, it's because, like, everyone should be able to choose a life that makes them happy. And at the same time, you can strive for values that very much contradict what other people want. But, I mean, I think, like, Uo-chan, like, she must have to have come to a place where she's like, well, I still kind of want to forge my own path and not quite, you know, I might not want to settle down, but I can respect your decision because it's your choice and you're happy with it. And, like, I guess that's fine because, like, I don't have to be just like you. Like, maybe that could be the resolution, but, like, yeah, I just love the female king so much, even though, like, yeah.
I don't think she's still in a gang, though.
No, she's not.
She's not in the gang anymore. Which is why those two girls are, like, creeping around, because they're like,
they want to get her back into it, I guess. They're, like, checking up on her, because she used to be a part of their squad or something.
Yeah, because they know who she is. So.
Yeah. So she's infamous in her own right. But do you guys think that this is going to end next episode, or is this going to be, like, a 3-parter thing?
I could see it coming to a close next episode.
Yeah,
like,
because we got so much in half an episode here. Yeah. We had, like, a whole episode. for it, we could get through a lot.
Yeah, and we got through a lot in one episode. And considering, like, the first, I don't know, like, chunk of it, at least a third of it was, like, them shopping for a swimsuit and giving the boys trouble. Like, for us to, like, get through so much in that. And also, like, even though, like, it sucks that we kind of ended on the like this cliffhanger, I think that was like the most appropriate place to end the episode too, because now like we can get into like the part of like her like Uo-chan like healing and getting to like where she is now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, what changed your mind?
Well, and like just like because she, you know, in like the present like times, she always talks about like the special relationship that she has with what's her face, Kyoko, and so like up until this point, like we have not seen that, and so I feel like whatever comes in the next episode is going to be that, whether it's like Kyoko like acting like as a mother to her or truly being like that heroic figure in her life. And maybe like she's just gonna have to come to this like, I guess, conclusion of like this is still my hero, but for the reasons that I didn't think. Like, so I like that's gonna be so like exciting and like empowering to watch. So I'm so looking forward to it. Not that I don't love girl gang stuff, but just to like see us get to that point. And like I can't imagine that the show wouldn't like finish this out. Like you have to. You left us on this cliffhanger, so.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point, April. Like, I really do think it has to be Kyoko who talks to her, because...
Like, it's not going to be Toru.
Yeah. It can't make sense for it to be Toru, because if it was Toru, she'd have to be talking about her mom and what her mom say anyway, so... Since the mom's alive right now, she might as well just go right to the source.
Yeah. What did you guys think of the mom? Because this is really the first time we see her the most, you know, and we see her just be herself, and it's through the eyes of someone who isn't Toru. So what was your opinion on her? Like, what did you think? For me, for instance, I really liked, there was this moment where she asked her, like, oh, like, are your parents strict? And Alisa just, like, burst out, like, of course they're not. Look at me. Why would you think they're strict? Mm-hmm. And I was like, oh, and her being like, hey, I'm not going to judge you. I don't know your story. And that's just such a Toru thing, but like Toru wouldn't do it in that way. But of course, like Toru thinks the best, like doesn't have these preconceptions of people. So like, I don't know. I just like, was there anything in particular that stood out to you from Kyoko-san?
I thought it was like, it was sweet that she was like trying to be respectful of her potential parents. Like, cause she doesn't know like Uo-chan's like, you know, family situation or like home situation. And so I thought it was just like great, because she's just like, oh, like, do you have to get home because like your parents wouldn't like it? Like, you know, that kind of thing. Like, and I have like no doubt in my mind that she would have been like, oh, like, let me talk to them or something like that, you know, like, oh, they could come over too or whatever. So,
yeah.
But I liked to see, it's interesting because it's hard to not also like remember Toru's perspective of her mom whenever you're watching this, because like I was just like, oh, like I'm supposed to be really disappointed in her, but I'm not. She's just so cute, like, and she's just like it also like shows like where Toru got a lot of like her kindness from too, because like she like, even though she doesn't know her, Kyoko's like still trying to extend like some form of like friendship, or you know what I mean, like she's being nice, which is like the most like general way to say it. So and she's a total stranger. She doesn't know who she is. For all she knows, she could be from a rival lady gang who's there to kill her or something, but but she's not. I mean, so
I was surprised by how open she was to Arisa, because I was like, all right, if I'm from if my past was that I was in a gang, and suddenly this gang girl shows up with my daughter, who I love so dearly, I'd be super protective. I'd be like, who are you?
But I think she might just be so infamous that she knows that people are going to leave her alone, even though she's off the grid. Like people in the active gang know where she is, like remote, like in the area. They might not know her address, but they know she's around, and they keep away from her for a reason.
Right. Yeah. totally. I will also say she's voiced by my favorite voice actress, so I just adore her.
That?
I love Kyoko. Miyuki Sawashiro. She voices a lot of people, but I don't know. She's my favorite voice actress, and that's all I'll say. And so I was like, Kyoko-san, we get more of her. But yeah, okay, so beside this big chunk, what did you guys think of the stinger scene at the end?
Oh my
episode?
God.
Oh.
It was hilarious.
Yeah,
I
loved
all
it.
the people they could have ambushed, it was Momiji, and him just saying German words just freaked them out so much.
I love that they were just like, they were like, it's a foreigner, and then like they call it out, and then they're like scared by it, and I'm like, you knew what you were getting yourself into.
I love the random English of the girl being like, I'll be back.
Right? Because
say,
English and German are the same language, obviously.
I will say, part of me was really hoping it was going to be Kana instead of Momiji, because she would have not put up with it. She would have just
That's true. I should have beat them up.
And she's like the cutest little thing, and then they would have been like, oh, we got this, and then boom, she switches on the Kana craziness factor, and then that would have been really great.
They would have become her instant fangirls and wanted to recruit her to their gang immediately.
No, they would have been like, oh, you are our master now.
Yes, teach us your ways. Why do you get so angry?
We need you.
Exactly.
Come to us.
Exactly. That is what needs to happen. And I feel like I think Kana needs some friends. I think she would be like, when it's like, no, that's not what they want from you. But I think that would be really cool. And I actually really isn't this the first time we get a stinger scene type of thing where it happens after the end credits? Is this not the first time this happens on this show?
I can't remember, honestly.
If we had any before, they were extremely short. So
they were
this is the longest
short
one.
and unmemorable.
Yeah.
I will say I'm so glad they kept this out of the main chunk.
Oh, it totally would have killed the vibe. Yeah.
It could have killed the vibe. That would have made it tonally jarring. And these girls, we saw them throughout the episode, right? They were they wanted to attack Arisa, but then they got distracted by the beautiful boys. They were these beautiful boys, and then they were taking pictures, and the poor woman from the restaurant was like, do you want to sit down?
What are you doing just skulking
what are you doing
around?
Here? So I'm really glad that I'm happy with the scene because it was it was a joke, whatever, but I'm also happy where they placed it in the episode. Because there wasn't any room for it, so it was a genius decision to have it be a stinger. What do you think about these girls? What do you think is going to happen the next episode? Are they going to follow through with their plan, or are we never going to see them again?
Lutron might confront them, because I think they're also there to figure out why she left. They have to hear the end of the story too. Because I don't think they understand exactly why. She might have just left and they didn't know why. They're like, we're gonna teach her a lesson for just leaving. Right. But they find out she had a good reason. Maybe it'll change their perspective on her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, I feel because they're still in the restaurant with all of them too. So, we'll see them.
Okay, so you think the stinger happens some other time? Yeah. That has nothing to do. Okay. So they're still at the restaurant.
Yeah.
Okay. Any guesses on what's gonna happen next episode? Or do you think? How do you think the resolution's gonna come about?
Well, so one thing I thought was really interesting about when Uo-chan kind of calls out Kyoko and is like, I'm so disappointed. I can't believe you gave up everything for this. You sunk so low. Why would you do that? And her response is basically, I just cooled down a bit. And I think that's super interesting because the one thing I did notice with all the gang girls is it's a bunch of these young teenagers who they're so angry and they're so frustrated with the world. And they use being a gang to take it out on other people and to kind of feel more self-assured at the expense of, random civilians. So I think this idea that maybe what Uo-chan needs is to feel secure enough to calm down, and that she will be happier for it when she can have like a more stable support system situation. Maybe that's the thing that could really bond them. Because I think probably the reason Kyoko was in the gang for so long is because she was also very frustrated with her situation in the world. Yeah. And she was fighting for something, and she happened to find that being a mom. But I feel like that anger is like a huge part of what connects them together, and how she might be able to relate to her.
Well, yeah, because they're all, like, super young, and so it's, you know, it's, like, bad enough that, like, they're going through, like, the whole puberty thing, and then, like, none of those girls seem to have, like, a really good, like, home situation. Like, I mean, look at Orisa, for instance, like, her mom left them to be with another man, and then, like, her dad just, like, slipped into, like, a deep depression and became, an alcoholic, like... Yeah, no wonder you're angry and you want to go fight people. Like, I would too. So, like, no one blames you at all. But, like, but it's interesting that, like, Kyoko would frame it in the way that, like, I've calmed down. And I think that's probably, like, the easiest way that she can tell her, like, at some point you're gonna find, like, a reason to not be angry. And then that's going to be it, kind of thing. But, like, you can't just go around being like, look, sis, like... At some point, you're going to be less angry. And
it just makes people angrier when they're already angry. Right. I think that's the part I really connected to. Because, like, as a kid, I was such an angry child. And, like, it makes me wonder, like, if you're really angry and you don't have a lot of outlets, like, and your situation's not great, finding a gang kind of makes a lot of sense. Right? Because, like, I just, like, that montage of them, like... under bridges and beating up people and saying horrible stuff about their parents, and even when Ochan's leaving, they say, like, you're going back to your old man, like, I hope you, like, kill him in his sleep. Yeah, kill him in his sleep. Like, that's the thing. If you're really angry, you would say, because, like, you want to have more control of your situation, but you don't, and you're a kid, but you still, like, want autonomy, especially if you're, like, a young teen. It's a very tumultuous time, so it just, like, feels very relatable.
Yeah. And I will say, you're right, that line of, like, I calmed down. I wonder if she's, I don't know, I wonder if she's gonna show a bit of like, I don't know, I'm curious to see, like, how she's gonna show to Arisa. Like, I wonder if Arisa's gonna drop out of school, and then that's when because we know that Kyoko-san, like, dropped out of school when she was really young, so maybe that's what's gonna spur her to be like, don't be like me. Like, that's when maybe, like, she'll get angry and be like, I don't know, there's so many ways of how this can turn out, and I'm so interested in how it's gonna see.
The biggest, like, I guess, like, clue and indicator that we got is kind of at the end of that opening scene. Like, we see her just sort of, like, break down and, like, just let it all out. And so I think that, that's obviously the turning point. But, like, part of me feels like she's going to be, because, like, she's been obsessed with the Crimson Butterfly, like, since she began in the girl gang. And so, like, I, like, 100% believe that, like, she's going to seek out Kyoko again. Like, it's not going to be the other way around. You know what I mean? Like,
interesting.
Because, like, I mean, like, that's how she met her in the first place, is because she, like, essentially stalked. She was just like, I'm gonna find her daughter. Like, as soon as she found out, like, she goes to the same school as you. She's like, what? I'm gonna find her. She's probably a real badass. Like, and then she, like, runs into Toru.
And, Toru.
Yeah, I like poor Toru. Like, this is, like, an amazing, like, non-Toru episode, so...
Yeah. But I also love how she still sticks up for her. Like, the moment, like, she yells at her, she's like, watch where you're going, when Toru spills all the stuff.
She still helps her,
She still helps her, and she still defends her. Like, there are these moments, these seeds throughout the episode that show that Arisa is actually, like, soft isn't the right word, but she's kind. And she is a good kid. Like, inside, like, she will help someone out if they need help. And, there's just, I think, for instance, that her upperclassmen, like, the girl in the gang that told her about the Crimson Butterfly, like, that always noticed that incident with Toru and her, you know who I'm talking about? She has like short hair.
Yeah, the dark-haired girl.
Yeah, I think she's gonna come into play too. I think she's like, you don't belong in this life. Like, you're too good for this. I don't know. I think it's like
you have the potential to like
be so much more than this.
Yeah, or to like just have a different life, because I'm sure like it's one of those things too where like even though like that's the life you chose, you wouldn't necessarily want that for anyone else. And so I have a feeling that like that's how like Arisa would approach the subject, and probably like that one dark-haired woman would as well, is that she's probably gonna like have this like heart-to-heart and be like, you're so obsessed with Kyoko, like go do what she's doing because that's obviously what you want, like just go do it.
I'm just, oh man. Here's the thing. I just thought of this. Also, I really love how they echoed the opening scene, and we saw it later on, but with context. Really thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
All right, so beginning of this episode is, what do we learn? Arisa cries really easily.
Yes.
We don't see her crying in this, like, backstory at all. We don't see her shed tears.
There's a reason for that,
Well, that's what I mean. I think in this next part, too, we are going to see her cry, and she's gonna cry easily, and that's how we're gonna learn of why she cries easily. Oh, oh god,
I cry easily too. It's okay.
Me too. I guess I assumed the reason she hadn't cried so far is because I think maybe like she would have to be more comfortable and relaxed to that's why. Just because
no, totally. So that's why.
Right
we're gonna. I think by in this part 2 that we're gonna get, I think we are going to get her reach that point where she can. And I think she's going to have this moment where she's going to be able to let it out. And I can't wait for the acting next episode, because it's going to be heartbreaking.
Be there when it happens. Because Kyoko would know how to handle that for sure. She's so cool.
100%. You know, Kyoko's been there before, and I think Kyoko's like so, like, if there's anyone who understands what she's going through, it's Kyoko. Like, I think that's why she was so perfectly, like, she wasn't pushing her. She never pushed her. I think when she pushed her, it was, like, very intentional, and she knew exactly what to do. And, oh man, this next episode is gonna break my heart.
So excited.
So excited. But yeah, I think that does it for this week. Is there anything else you want to add before we go?
No, I think we covered all of it.
Yeah.
I like how kind of normal and boring Toru kind of is.
I know.
I love it.
I don't know if she has any friends at that point, but she just seems like the kind of person other people walk all over. And she, like, I think Osh-chan says, like, she's, like, so plain. Like, she never would have expected her to be the daughter of the Crimson Butterfly, just because, like, she does not stand out in any way, shape, or form. And, like, where she is now, she certainly does stand out a lot. And I think, I don't know, it's interesting seeing her origins, too.
I think it's really interesting how, Arisa described her as strange, or was it weird? She was like,
weird
too.
She's like, there's something about this.
She's very plain and, like, strange is how she described her.
Yeah, because I like the word strange, because she's like, there's something about you. Like, there's something about, like, you are so genuine. You're so earnest. And that's so strange. Like, no one is this kind. And it's like, yeah, she's great.
She's so great. She's so strange.
Like,
I think part of that comes from, too, like, is that, like, Toru, like, always comes off very genuine, like, even in, like, the simplest of aspects, like, we see her in, like, this flashback, but that's probably not something that, like, Otis is used to. Like, she's in this gang where it seems very much that all of these girls have, like, this, like, I gotta look out for myself kind of attitude, and that if, like, push came to shove, they probably wouldn't, like, have her back, and so that's probably, like, the mentality that she's stuck in, and so for her to just meet someone who, like, has genuine reactions and not necessarily, like, a calculated response to everything, that would be, like, that would be strange weird to you. Yeah.
Well, will we get Sakis backstory next episode too?
I don't know if we're gonna get it next episode, but I'm sure we'll get it before the end of the season at this point.
Okay. Yeah.
But again, I'm like, I kind of love that Saki's always just very, like, lighthearted, and she comes from this, like, normal family. She just happens to be able to read waves or whatever.
Giant normal family.
I think, like, we don't need it with Saki. I kind of love that we, like, I don't want it.
I think it would add to the mystery of her.
Yeah.
Like, if we didn't get it. Well, and the other thing, too, is that, like, Arusa's, like, backstory is tied to Kyoko, who's tied to Toru, whereas, like, Saki's backstory isn't necessarily, and, like, we continue to talk about, like, the theme of, like, Toru's mom, like, she comes up in, like, every single episode, almost, and so, like, it wouldn't seem, like, I don't know, it almost wouldn't seem appropriate to kind of run through Saki's backstory, just because it's not going to be tied to, like, Kyoko. So, like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. But I feel like we will get introduced to, we'll get introduced to her, like, in the next episode as we finish out this flashback. Yeah. Because they all started being friends at the same point, if I remember correctly. Right. Like, they mentioned it at some point.
School. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah. I agree. Yeah, I kind of want her to be just like a singer. Like, we spend this entire episode like wrapping up Arisa's backstory, and then they go like, "What about you, Saki?" Like, "Oh yeah, I just showed up." And then she's like,
it would just be great for her to just like we finish out like the whole like Arisa story, and then like all of a sudden like she just Saki just shows up, and she's just like, "I'm your friend now too," and they're like, "Okay," like
they're like, "Who are you?" Sure, and it's great.
Yeah.
I just don't want to ever find out the reason exactly why she transferred. I want to leave it as a mystery.
Yeah.
Because everyone's like, we're not, like, the boys is being like, we are not surprised at all that she transferred because of some issue. Like, that doesn't surprise us in the slightest. So I kind of just want to leave it a mystery. Let our imaginations run wild.
Let them soar.
Yeah. But yeah, that does it for this episode. You can find out all the info on this podcast at overlyanimated.com. You can join us on Discord to text chat about animation at overlyanimated.com/Discord. You can support us via Patreon at patreon.com/overlyanimated. Thanks to all our current patrons, especially our patron of the podcast, James, aka Ironwood. And thanks as always to our Patreon executive producers, Ryan, Steve, Alex, Beatriz, Hugh, and Michael. Thanks for listening, guys. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.